Diana has in fact been killed in that car accident.
In a shocking twist, the royal family has dropped a bombshell that could shake centuries-old traditions. Whispers are already swirling around Buckingham Palace as insiders tease a once-in-a-lifetime revelation that nobody saw coming. Could this monumental development rewrite royal protocols and forever alter the course of the monarchy? Join us as we dive into the intrigue surrounding this historic announcement. Princess Diana's Letter and Secrets. A jaw-dropping revelation from Buckingham Palace has left royal watchers reeling. The rediscovery of a letter from Princess Diana herself. Buried for decades and now thrust into the spotlight, it hints at a clandestine secret that could challenge the very pillars of royal tradition. While full details remain obscured, sources claim that this remarkable document touches on Diana's deepest fears, her relentless emotional struggles, and anxieties about powerful figures who might have targeted her. With the royal family's surprise disclosure, people everywhere are once again scrutinizing Diana's life through a brand new lens. Even during her lifetime, Diana's personal letters were known for their raw honesty. Cartons of private notes once kept under lock and key now appear to confirm the intensity of her anguish and her suspicion that she was at risk. In the months before her tragic death, Diana openly worried about being subjected to a staged car crash, maintaining that such an incident might be orchestrated by those threatened by her activism and relentless media presence. Deemed paranoid by some and prophetic by others, these fears echoed through her final days, cutting a stark contrast to her graceful public persona. Shadows of these revelations first surfaced when her trusted butler, Paul Burrell, faced legal obstacles for safeguarding Diana's belongings. Although he was accused of theft, Queen Elizabeth II's intervention clarified that he had, in fact, been entrusted with many of Diana's personal effects, including letters. Some believe that the newly revealed letter may substantiate Diana's dread of sinister plots designed to silence her. It's no wonder that the royal family's recent announcement has ignited a flurry of speculation, inspiring questions about what else might be hidden behind palace walls. Meanwhile, Diana's humanitarian legacy resonates more powerfully than ever. The same woman who braved minefields in Angola and shattered prejudices surrounding HIV/AIDS was, behind the scenes, wrestling with heartbreak, fear, and betrayal. These latest documents suggest that she harbored confidences so sensitive that, if exposed earlier, they could have shaken the monarchy to its foundation. Now, with the royal family's surprising public acknowledgement of this mysterious letter, the world is eager to see if its contents will validate long-swirling conspiracy theories or simply add another tragic layer to Diana's story. Diana and Charles's relationship. In a stunning development, the royal family just announced a shocking discovery linked to Princess Diana, one that has reignited fascination with her complicated marriage to Prince Charles. After years of speculation and rumors, the new information has people revisiting every detail of their relationship, from its fairy tale beginning to the heartbreak that ultimately defined it. Diana Spencer met Charles through her older sister, Lady Sarah Spencer, in the late 1970s. At the time, Charles was fresh from a brief courtship with Sarah, which ended amid candid remarks about not wishing to marry him. Little did anyone suspect that this chance introduction would blossom into one of the most famous romances in royal history. Despite being just 19 when their relationship began, Diana quickly discovered the challenges of loving a man still ensnared by the memory of his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Her private world soon filled with doubts. In one television interview, Charles's response to whether he truly loved Diana, whatever love means, only deepened her unease and sense of insecurity. On July 29, 1981, their wedding at St. Paul's Cathedral dazzled a global audience of over 750 million. Yet beneath the veil of jubilation, Diana sensed an emotional distance between them. She suspected that Camilla lingered in Charles's heart. Over time, these feelings hardened into despair, particularly once they were married, and Diana realized how real that emotional bond remained. The strains within their marriage didn't stay hidden for long. Diana, feeling increasingly lonely and overlooked, shockingly threw herself down the stairs while pregnant, desperate for Charles's attention. His lukewarm response to her distress left her feeling more isolated than ever. That sense of betrayal intensified when Diana came to believe that there were 3 of us in the marriage. Learning to navigate her royal duties offered some respite. Diana's warmth endeared her to millions worldwide, who admired her compassion for the sick and vulnerable. Yet even as she won hearts through her humanitarian work, she battled emotional turmoil behind palace walls. Her BBC Panorama interview in 1995 made it plain she felt alone, overshadowed, and anxious about Camilla's unspoken role in Charles's Charles's life. While the fairy tale ceremony had promised happily ever after, reality brought heartbreak. By 1992, Diana and Charles separated, officially divorcing 4 years later. The public spectacle of their split confirmed the depth of their marital strife. Amid the pressures of royal life, Diana's longing for emotional security proved impossible to fulfill. The wedding of the century. The wedding of the century, Princess Diana and Prince Charles's 1981 nuptials, dazzled an international audience, and now the royal family's astonishing new announcement has once again cast fresh light on that iconic day. Nearly 750 million people across the globe tuned in to watch Diana, a demure 19-year-old, pledge her vows to the heir to the British throne. The broadcast was filled with pageantry and pomp, horse-drawn carriages, gleaming military uniforms, and one of the most memorable wedding gowns ever seen. Even decades later, that billowing ivory silk dress, with its 25-foot train, remains an enduring symbol of fairy tale romance. Yet behind the scenes, Diana privately wrestled with doubts. She had long sensed that Charles's heart belonged elsewhere, that he'd never truly let go of his past with Camilla Parker Bowles. Despite this misgiving, the pressure of royal duty and her own inexperience compelled her to push these fears aside. On the surface, the wedding was a perfect spectacle of Union Jack bunting, trumpets, and adoring crowds. World leaders, celebrities, and aristocrats from around the globe filled St. Paul's Cathedral, a testament to the significance of what the public believed to be a joyous match. The newly released royal documents, however, suggest there was more tension behind the pomp and circumstance than previously known. Insiders hint that letters written by Diana around this time reveal a young bride bracing herself against a wave of uncertainty. Far from the storybook ceremony presented to the world, she felt overshadowed by Charles's lingering affection for Camilla. Rumors now claim that Diana's notes detail apprehension about exactly how welcome she was within palace walls, and the emotional toll she feared that day would take on her. Still, none of these private worries managed to dull Diana's remarkable poise as she walked down the aisle. Her infectious warmth shone through the ceremonial grandeur, earning her instant worldwide admiration. Long after the ceremony concluded, the honeymoon headlines continued to feed the relentless tabloids, all enthralled by the image of a shy kindergarten teacher transformed into a global icon overnight. For many, the wedding of the century stands as a bittersweet memory of what might have been. The stirring orchestras, the sea of well-wishers on London streets, and the hushed awe that accompanied the couple's vows still captivate royal watchers everywhere. Now, as the newly announced revelations rekindle curiosity about the wedding's unspoken drama, observers can't help but wonder whether this epic-making event was destined to foreshadow the stormy years that lay ahead. Struggles in the marriage. A bombshell announcement from the royal family has once again thrown the spotlight on Princess Diana's tumultuous life, particularly the painful struggles of her marriage to Prince Charles. For decades, the public has been mesmerized by their grand wedding and the fairy tale image that followed. Yet beneath the glittering veneer, Diana faced profound emotional battles that shaped her journey and ultimately laid bare the cracks in one of history's most scrutinized unions. From the start, Diana was plagued with insecurities about Charles's ongoing affection for his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Even in the early days of their courtship, references to Camilla would hang in the air, leaving Diana feeling dwarfed by her husband's emotional history. The mismatch of their ages, she was 19, he 32, only highlighted a divide in priorities. While she hoped for an affectionate match, Charles seemed conflicted, famously uttering whatever love means when asked if he truly loved Diana. As newlyweds, they momentarily played the roles expected of them, appearing at formal engagements with bright smiles that masked Diana's growing sense of isolation. Behind palace doors, Diana increasingly longed for recognition and reassurance from Charles. This longing peaked when she was pregnant with Prince William, and in a moment of despair, threw herself down the stairs in an attempt to provoke the empathy she felt her husband withheld. Instead of finding the compassion she desperately needed, she encountered a chilling indifference. Over time, Diana's anguish grew. She spoke of feeling like an outsider trapped within ancient protocols and watchful eyes. Her greatest heartbreak, she later confessed in a landmark BBC Panorama interview, was Charles's enduring closeness to Camilla. That searing admission, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," became an iconic snapshot of Diana's struggles. It conveyed not only the pain of perceived betrayal, but the loneliness of a young woman thrust into the global spotlight with few genuine allies. Seeking solace, Diana channeled her energy into humanitarian causes, forging meaningful connections with the public at every turn. Yet even as the world hailed her as the people's princess, she returned each night to a private sphere dominated by tension and suspicion, unable to heal what she saw as a broken bond. Ultimately, these unresolved issues, combined with constant media intrusion, proved insurmountable. In 1992, Diana and Charles announced their separation, finalizing their divorce 4 years later. Now, with this startling new royal family disclosure, the world is eager to learn learn whether Diana left behind fresh insights into those turbulent years of marriage. For so long, her struggles were wrapped in rumors and official narratives. Diana's famous BBC Panorama interview. Princess Diana's 1995 BBC Panorama interview remains one of the most shocking and revealing moments in modern royal history. And now, the royal family's recent bombshell announcement has renewed interest in that explosive broadcast. At the time, it felt like the entire world stopped to hear Diana break her silence on her troubled marriage and emotional battles behind palace doors. She spoke candidly, radiating a mixture of vulnerability and strength that captivated millions of viewers who were unaccustomed to such naked honesty from a member of the royal household. In the interview, Diana addressed her unhappiness, telling the now infamous story of feeling trapped in a marriage overshadowed by her husband's ongoing connection to Camilla Parker Bowles. Her most quoted line, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," instantly etched itself into history. It confirmed lingering suspicions that Prince Charles's affections lay elsewhere, casting Diana as a lonely figure caught in an arrangement that lacked the comfort and stability she had hoped for. Yet what truly stunned the public was Diana's admission of her own struggles, including incidents of self-harm and severe emotional distress. At one point, she recounted throwing herself down the stairs while pregnant, desperate for Charles's attention. The heartbreak in her voice spoke volumes, amplifying the sense that her pleas for empathy had gone largely unheard. Far from the cheerful, confident princess glimpsed in official photographs, Diana emerged as a woman grappling with relentless media pressure, royal protocol, and a profound sense of isolation. Critics were quick to brand her as manipulative or attention-seeking, but her supporters saw a brave soul refusing to be silenced any longer. The interview not only redefined her public image, but also marked a watershed moment for the royal family. No longer confined by centuries of unspoken codes, Diana unapologetically peeled back the curtain. She displayed the raw reality of royal life, not merely a glittering spectacle of tiaras and galas, but also a claustrophobic environment where personal pain too often festered in private shadows. Today, speculation abounds that the royal family's latest startling announcement involves rediscovered commentary or documentation surrounding Diana's panorama revelations. Could there be more details, hidden for decades, that amplify her words about betrayal and heartbreak? This possibility has jolted public curiosity all over again. Echoes of that interview, Diana's luminous eyes, her measured tone, and her stark confessions remain just as resonant now, decades later. Whatever emerges next, that 1995 broadcast will forever be remembered as the moment Diana found her voice and shattered the myth of the unassailable monarchy. Humanitarian efforts. Princess Diana's acts of kindness and courage remain emblematic of a royal figure who chose empathy over tradition, and now, with the royal family's unexpected announcement, her humanitarian efforts are back in the global discourse. Even as she endured personal struggles, feeling overshadowed in her marriage and hounded by relentless press, Diana channeled her pain into caring for the most vulnerable. Her bravery shone through in 1987, when fear and confusion about HIV/AIDS were rampant. Diana famously shook hands with an AIDS patient without gloves, an extraordinary gesture that shattered misconceptions about the virus's transmission. That single act sent a powerful message. Compassion and knowledge could overcome public hysteria. It also aligned her with a marginalized community desperate for understanding and support, demonstrating that real change could be sparked by empathy at the highest levels of society. 10 years later, in 1997, she made global headlines again by walking through an active minefield in Angola to highlight the perils of landmines. Her willingness to face danger in order to champion a critical cause inspired worldwide admiration. This brave move helped spur international efforts toward banning these hidden threats, culminating in the Ottawa Treaty, which outlawed the use of landmines. Now, as the royal family hints at new insights involving Diana, the world is reminded of what made her truly extraordinary. Her compassion transcended palace protocols. Diana's tragic death, a new royal announcement, has reignited interest in one of the most heartbreaking chapters in modern history: the tragic death of Princess Diana. The shock of her passing on August 31, 1997, was felt around the world. Yet it's the circumstances and secrets still emerging all these years later that continue to stir debate. According to fresh details, Diana may have harbored greater fears than the public ever knew, fears that could recast our understanding of what really happened in that fateful tunnel in Paris. On the surface, her fatal car crash appeared to be the ultimate result of a high-speed chase by paparazzi, intent on capturing intimate snapshots as she and her companion, Dodi Fayed, sought a moment of peace away from relentless flashing cameras. Their driver, Henri Paul, was later found to have been intoxicated, and an investigation concluded that a lethal mix of speeding, alcohol, and lack of seatbelt use led to the collision, killing Diana, Dodi, and Henri Paul almost instantly. Only Diana's bodyguard survived, though with serious injuries. The entire world reeled from the news, unified in shock and grief. Yet over the years, whispers of conspiracy conspiracy refused to fade. Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, would later claim she penned a letter expressing her deep concern that someone might orchestrate a car accident to silence her. Initially dismissed as rumor, this unsettling notion found renewed life in the context of the endless swirl of paparazzi, political tensions, and the oddities surrounding that night's final moments. When Queen Elizabeth II intervened to stop legal charges against Burrell after he was found to be in possession of Diana's belongings, it only added another layer of complexity to her already tragic story. Questions surrounding Diana's death have never quite settled. While official inquiries consistently determined that the crash was an accident, the people's princess had become so beloved and so entwined in the hearts of millions that her death felt almost too cruel to be explained by a simple twist of fate. Could the newly announced revelations shine a brighter light on records or letters from that time? Might they confirm or debunk the theories that powerful forces sought to curb Diana's influence on humanitarian causes and her willingness to speak out? For many, Diana's legacy of compassion, exemplified by her work with HIV/AIDS patients and her courageous stand against landmines, demonstrated a fearless altruism, one that may have garnered as many admirers as critics. She was the vibrant spirit who redefined what it meant to be royal, and in doing so, may have stirred forces beyond her control. Now, with the royal family's startling disclosure, we find ourselves once again pondering the unanswered questions that surround Diana's tragic death, wondering if this time we might finally learn the truth she feared would remain hidden. Paul Burrell's role. Paul Burrell's name has been thrust back into the spotlight with the royal family's latest announcement, prompting renewed interest in his extraordinary connection to Princess Diana. Originally a young footman at Buckingham Palace, Burrell steadily earned the trust of senior royals, eventually becoming Diana's butler and personal assistant. He witnessed her remarkable charitable work, her tension-filled marriage to Prince Charles, and her heart-wrenching struggles with loneliness. Over time, the two formed a bond that far surpassed the conventional role of employee and employer. His devotion did not end with her tragic passing in 1997. Following Diana's death, Burrell emerged as a fervent guardian of her memory, claiming that she had entrusted him with safeguarding personal belongings and letters. This commitment drew him into the harsh glare of media and legal scrutiny when, in 2002, he stood accused of stealing over 30,000 items from her estate. The resulting court case riveted the public's attention and threatened to tarnish his reputation. In a dramatic twist, Queen Elizabeth II confirmed she knew Burrell had been keeping Diana's possessions, and the charges against him were dropped. Burrell's subsequent revelations, however, proved equally explosive. He insisted Diana harbored fears of a staged car crash meant to silence her, sparking lingering questions about the circumstances that led to her fatal accident. Critics dismissed him as an opportunist, profiteering from her life and death through interviews and books. Supporters argued he was fulfilling her wish to share truths she felt would otherwise remain buried. Today, as rumors swirl of newly discovered documents from Diana's final years, Burrell's role is being re-examined. Was he a loyal confidant preserving her legacy, or an eager storyteller capitalizing on her fame? Whatever fresh details may emerge, one fact is undeniable. Paul Burrell had unprecedented access to Diana's inner world, making him central to the ongoing intrigue surrounding her extraordinary life. Conspiracy theories and Diana's fears. Princess Diana's life and untimely death have long been caught in a web of rumors and speculation, and the royal family's latest bombshell announcement has brought those intense debates back to center stage. Many of these theories stem from Diana's own letters, in which she expressed fears that powerful figures would orchestrate a staged car accident to silence her. Although official inquiries blamed her tragic passing in 1997 on speeding, an intoxicated driver, and paparazzi in pursuit, conspiracy theorists point to Diana's personal anxieties as evidence that something more sinister might have been afoot. Paul Burrell, Diana's former butler and close confidant, claimed that she confided these concerns to him privately. According to Burrell, Diana believed her activism on global issues and her willingness to challenge royal protocol could have ruffled powerful feathers. It didn't help that she felt isolated by some members of the royal family and openly struggled with the relentless attention from the press. Burrell's later revelations about a letter in which Diana purportedly warned of a plot to cause a serious car accident reignited the public's fascination with her death. Critics of conspiracy theories argue that the facts point to an unfortunate yet straightforward tragedy. On that fateful night, Diana and Dodi Fayed attempted to slip past the paparazzi by departing from the Ritz Hotel's back entrance. Their driver, Henri Paul, was found to be thrice over the legal alcohol limit and driving at breakneck speed, an unsafe choice that proved deadly. Diana's bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, was the only survivor, and while some wonder if he might hold keys to a hidden truth, official investigations concluded that the accident was, in fact, caused by reckless driving, nothing more. Yet uncertainty lingers. The intense global mourning that followed Diana's death elevated her to a near mythical status, fueling speculation that fate alone alone could not have taken her life so abruptly. Her humanitarian work, specifically her outspoken involvement in controversial causes such as anti-landmine campaigns, had placed her squarely on the world stage. Some conspiracy theorists believe that these altruistic actions and the influence she began to wield posed a threat to entrenched interests, prompting a plot to remove her. Whether one believes in foul play or in the simpler explanation of a tragic accident, Diana's fears remain a significant chapter in her story. She was vocal in her letters about real concerns for her safety, and her vulnerability in sharing these thoughts with trusted confidants endears her to admirers decades after her passing. With the royal family's recent revelations stirring speculation anew, it's clear that conversations about Diana's life and her lingering apprehensions are far from over. Diana's legacy. Princess Diana's legacy continues to captivate, especially now in light of the royal family's latest announcement hinting at revelations no one expected. She came onto the world stage as a shy teenager, marrying the future king, yet emerged as a transformative force whose compassion and authenticity redefined what it meant to be royal. To millions, she wasn't just a figure in a tiara, she was the people's princess, tirelessly championing causes often overlooked by those in power. Behind the grandeur of the 1981 wedding of the century, Diana's personal struggles foreshadowed her determination to create genuine human connections. Growing up, she had lived a relatively quiet life, but found herself thrust into an archaic system bound by complex rules and centuries-old traditions. Despite her own crises, feeling overshadowed by Prince Charles's attachment to Camilla Parker Bowles and wrestling with bouts of loneliness, Diana channeled her vulnerabilities into empathy for others. This approach led her to groundbreaking humanitarian efforts, such as supporting HIV/AIDS patients at a time when misinformation and fear prevailed. Her famous gesture of shaking hands without gloves broke taboos and inspired a worldwide shift in attitudes. Diana's fearlessness only grew, culminating in her historic walk through an active minefield in Angola in 1997. That courageous act brought a crucial issue to global attention, propelling the movement to ban landmines. Through these public acts of compassion, Diana brought monarchy closer to the people by showing that a royal figure could be warm, relatable, and unafraid of diving into pressing social causes. Tragically, her story ended far too soon on a Paris roadway, leaving behind unanswered questions about who might have sought to undermine her. Even in death, her spirit continues to resonate. The sudden disclosure from the royal family has reignited interest. Might Diana have left behind secrets that deepen our understanding of her passions and fears? Regardless of new revelations, Diana's extraordinary empathy, quick smile, and willingness to stand with the marginalized remain her defining gifts to the world. In many ways, her legacy outshines any lingering intrigue, reminding us that an open heart can inspire sweeping change. Across time and distance, people remember Diana not just for her title, but for how she illuminated social injustices and strove to mend them, proving that even amid royal pomp, it is empathy that truly reigns supreme.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
What if the royal love story we thought we knew was hiding dark secrets? A shocking discovery has surfaced. Queen Camilla's private diary, rumored to contain explosive details about King Charles. From secret scandals to untold truths about their controversial romance. This diary could change everything we know about the British monarchy. What terrifying revelations could it hold?
Did you find it harrowing?
I did find it, and I think what made it so readable was your writing, your prose, your descriptions of nature.
Buckle up, because this royal drama is about to get even more scandalous. Stay tuned for the jaw-dropping details. Charles and Camilla first meet, 1970. It was the summer of 1970 when Prince Charles, the future King of England, met Camilla Shand for the very first time. The encounter happened at a polo match in Windsor Great Park, a setting that couldn't have been more fitting for a royal romance to begin. The air was filled with excitement, horses galloping, and laughter echoing across the field. Among the crowd stood Camilla, a confident and witty young woman who would soon capture the attention of the young prince. As the story goes, their meeting wasn't just casual, it was electric. Charles was immediately drawn to Camilla's charm and humor. Unlike many others in royal circles, Camilla didn't treat Charles as just a prince. She spoke to him like a regular person, and her down-to-earth personality made her stand out. She reportedly broke the ice with a cheeky joke that caught Charles off guard. Camilla reminded him that their great-grandmothers had both been mistresses to the same king. Her boldness left Charles both amused and intrigued, and the two hit it off instantly. Camilla, who was 23 at the time, wasn't from a royal family, but she came from an aristocratic background. She'd grown up around horses, countryside parties, and the kind of life that made her comfortable in the royal world. Charles, on the other hand, was just starting to step into his role as the Prince of Wales, balancing the weight of royal duties with his personal desires. Meeting Camilla felt like a breath of fresh air for him. Over the next few months, Charles and Camilla spent more time together, and their relationship began to blossom. They shared a love for the countryside, polo, and good conversation. Camilla had a way of making Charles feel at ease, something he deeply valued as the pressures of royal life surrounded him. Friends of the couple at the time said their chemistry was undeniable, but their love story hit its first obstacle not long after it began. Charles's royal duties called him away to serve in the Royal Navy, and their relationship was put on hold. While Charles was away, Camilla rekindled her romance with Andrew Parker Bowles, whom she would later marry. Though their love story didn't take off at the time, that first meeting in 1970 set the stage for decades of connection, heartbreak, and eventual reconciliation. It was the beginning of a royal relationship that would go on to shape history. Camilla marries Andrew Parker Bowles, 1973. The year was 1973, and the British social scene was buzzing with excitement. Camilla Shand, a young woman with a sharp wit and a warm personality, was set to marry Andrew Parker Bowles, a handsome and charming officer in the British Army. Their wedding was the talk of the town, and it became one of the most glamorous social events of the year. But behind the smiles and celebration, there was an untold story of love, heartbreak, and what might have been. Camilla and Andrew had been in an on-again, off-again relationship for several years. Andrew, who was known for his good looks and charisma, had many admirers, and their relationship wasn't always smooth. Despite the ups and downs, Camilla seemed deeply taken with him. She was ready to settle down and start a family, and Andrew appeared to be the perfect match for her. However, what many didn't know at the time was that another man, Prince Charles, had already captured Camilla's heart just a few years earlier. Prince Charles and Camilla had met in 1970, and their connection was undeniable. They shared a bond that was rare and unique, but timing was not on their side. Charles's royal duties required him to join the Royal Navy, which meant he had to leave Camilla behind. In his absence, Camilla rekindled her romance with Andrew, and their relationship grew stronger. When Charles returned, it was too late. Camilla and Andrew's engagement had already been announced. On July 4th, 1973, Camilla and Andrew tied the knot in a grand ceremony at the Guards Chapel in London. The wedding was attended by high society, including members of the royal family. Camilla looked radiant in her white dress, smiling as she walked down the aisle. From the outside, it seemed like a perfect fairy tale. However, those close to Camilla knew that Charles was never far from her thoughts. Despite marrying Andrew, Camilla and Charles remained friends. They stayed in touch, and their bond remained strong even as they built separate lives. Camilla and Andrew went on to have 2 children, Tom and Laura, but their marriage was far from perfect. Charles and Camilla's affair resumes. The story of Prince Charles and Camilla Shand had always been complicated, but by the mid-1980s it took an explosive turn. Although Camilla had married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, and Charles had tied the knot with Lady Diana Spencer in 1981, the connection between Charles and Camilla never truly disappeared. Behind the grand royal events and public appearances, their bond remained strong, and by 1986, their affair had quietly resumed. At this point, Charles and Diana's marriage was already struggling. What had started as a fairy tale union was now filled with tension, misunderstandings, and unhappiness. Diana was aware of Charles's lingering feelings for Camilla, which only added to the cracks in their relationship. Charles, feeling increasingly distant from Diana, found comfort in the arms of the woman he had always turned to, Camilla. Their rekindled affair wasn't something that happened overnight. It began subtly, with Charles and Camilla spending more time together at social events and private gatherings. Camilla, who was still married to Andrew Parker Bowles, was a source of emotional support for Charles. She understood the pressures of his royal life in a way that Diana, still young and inexperienced at the time, struggled to grasp. For Charles, Camilla was more than just an old flame. She was a confidant, a friend, and someone he could rely on. As their relationship deepened, rumors of their affair began to spread. Friends and aides close to the couple noticed their growing closeness, and whispers about their meetings started to reach the public. Diana herself confronted Charles about his relationship with Camilla. The affair caused a ripple effect of pain and scandal. Diana's emotional struggles became more apparent, and her marriage to Charles continued to unravel. Meanwhile, Camilla faced her own challenges, as her relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles also began to break down. By the early 1990s, the affair was no longer a secret, and the media frenzy surrounding it became relentless. Looking back, the resumption of Charles and Camilla's affair in 1986 marked a turning point in the history of the British monarchy. It not only led to the eventual collapse of two marriages, but it also set the stage for decades of public and private drama. Their love, though controversial, would later endure and reshape the royal family in ways no one could have imagined. Charles marries Diana, 1981. It was July 29, 1981, when the world witnessed what seemed like the perfect fairy tale. Prince Charles, heir to the British throne, married Lady Diana Spencer in a grand ceremony that captured the hearts of millions. With over 750 million people watching on television worldwide, it was called the wedding of the century. The union between the shy 20-year-old Diana and the 32-year-old prince appeared magical. But beneath the surface, the story was far more complicated. The wedding itself was nothing short of spectacular. St. Paul's Cathedral, chosen for its larger capacity compared to Westminster Abbey, was packed with royals, dignitaries, and celebrities. Diana arrived in a glass carriage, wearing a stunning ivory silk gown with a 25-foot train, designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel. The sight of her stepping out of the carriage became one of the most iconic images in royal history. The young bride looked every bit the princess she was about to become, and the crowd erupted in cheers as she made her way down the aisle. Charles, dressed in his naval uniform, waited at the altar, appearing calm and composed. The couple exchanged vows, though there were small, telling signs of nerves. Diana famously mixed up Charles's name during the ceremony, calling him Philip Charles Arthur George, instead of Charles Philip Arthur George. It was a minor mistake, but it hinted at the underlying stress of the day. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. The streets of London were lined with thousands of well-wishers waving flags, and the reception was a grand affair. The couple's kiss on the balcony of Buckingham Palace became a defining moment, replayed countless times in the media. Diana, with her natural charm and beauty, quickly won over the public, earning her title as the People's Princess. However, while the world celebrated, the marriage itself was built on shaky ground. Charles and Diana had only met 12 times before getting engaged. Their relationship lacked a deep emotional connection, and Charles's lingering feelings for his former flame, Camilla Parker Bowles, cast a shadow over their union. Diana, though smitten with Charles, would later reveal how lonely and isolated she felt. Diana confronts Camilla about the affair. By the late 1980s, Princess Diana could no longer ignore the growing distance between her and Prince Charles. Whispers of an ongoing secret between Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles had turned into louder rumors. Though Diana had always sensed that Charles's heart belonged to someone else, she decided to face the situation head-on. In 1989, she gathered the courage to confront Camilla at a birthday party, an event that would become legendary in royal history. Many well-known figures had gathered for a celebration in London, unaware that the evening would take a dramatic turn. The party was held for Camilla's sister, but the happy occasion had a tense undertone. Diana, feeling increasingly isolated and hurt, chose this moment to speak directly to the woman she believed was threatening her marriage. It was a small gathering, which made it easier for Diana to corner Camilla in a quiet corner, away from the main party. Diana approached Camilla with determination, her heart pounding. Despite her nerves, she spoke calmly, but firmly. She famously said, "I know what's going on. Don't treat me like I'm stupid." People who later heard about this confrontation often wondered how Camilla reacted to being challenged by the Princess of Wales. According to Diana's own accounts, Camilla tried to maintain her composure, but the tension in the air was undeniable. The conversation that followed was brief but powerful. Diana made it clear she wanted no secrets in her marriage, and that she deserved honesty from both Charles and Camilla. In some reports, Camilla replied that Diana had everything she could want: fame, beauty, and 2 beautiful sons. Diana, however, saw these words as dismissive and hurtful, feeling that Camilla was undermining her emotional needs. This confrontation was a key moment in Diana's life. Though she didn't end the affair that very night, she took a brave step by standing up for herself and her children. The media would later learn of this face-to-face meeting, adding more fuel to the already intense coverage of the royal marriage. For Diana, it was a moment of releasing pent-up anger and sadness. In the years that followed, the tension between Diana, Charles, and Camilla grew stronger, eventually leading to tabloid headlines around the world. Yet, this single evening at a birthday party remained a turning point. Diana's confrontation showed her willingness to fight for her dignity, even if it meant challenging the very traditions and expectations that had long defined royal life. Charles and Diana live separate lives, 1986. Charles and Diana's marriage started like a fairy tale, but by 1986, the cracks were impossible to ignore. Instead of sharing a warm and loving bond, the Prince and Princess of Wales seemed more like strangers under the same roof. Friends, staff, and even the public noticed that the couple was drifting apart. The magic of their 1981 wedding was gone, replaced by long periods of living separate lives both in and out of the palace. At the time, Diana was a global icon. Her warmth and compassion shone during royal events, charity visits, and public engagements. People adored her for her natural charm and stylish outfits. However, behind the scenes, she felt lonely and misunderstood. Charles, meanwhile, continued his royal duties and focused on his private interests, like polo and gardening. He spent more time in the countryside, enjoying peaceful retreats and the company of close friends. Their busy schedules offered an easy cover for how little time they actually spent together. Though both tried to keep up appearances for the sake of tradition and their roles, tensions were growing. Rumors about Diana's unhappiness and Charles's connection with Camilla Parker Bowles only added more strain. Diana's heartfelt attempts to find emotional support from Charles often went unanswered, and Charles, feeling pressured by royal expectations, withdrew even further. As a result, the two formed separate routines, rarely sharing intimate moments or genuine conversations. Even at public events, keen observers could sense the distance between them. Photographers captured moments when Diana stood a few steps away, looking isolated, while Charles appeared engaged with others. Their differing interests became more obvious. Diana preferred spending time with her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and focusing on charitable work. Charles found solace in quiet hobbies and deep conversations that did not always include Diana. By the end of 1986, it was clear to insiders that the royal couple had practically become roommates, not partners. They lived their daily lives in different parts of palaces, rarely meeting except for official events or planned family moments. Despite efforts by the royal family to deny any serious marital problems, rumors circulated across newspapers and magazines, intensifying the pressure on both Charles and Diana. Diana's Panorama Interview, 1995. Diana's Panorama Interview, 1995, was a moment that caught the world by surprise and changed the way people viewed the royal family. It aired on November 20th, 1995, on the BBC program Panorama, hosted by journalist Martin Bashir. Millions of people tuned in to watch Princess Diana speak openly about her life, her marriage to Prince Charles, and the pressures of being in the public eye. This was the first time a member of the royal family had given such a frank and personal interview on national television. From the beginning, Diana showed a calm and gentle manner, even though the topics were deeply personal. She spoke about feeling isolated and misunderstood within the royal household. She also confessed to struggling with bulimia, a condition she linked to the stress and emotional pain she felt. Diana's openness on these private matters showed her willingness to connect with ordinary people who faced similar struggles. Perhaps the most remembered part of the interview was Diana's honest talk about her marriage problems. At one point, she famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," referring to Prince Charles's long-running connection with Camilla Parker Bowles. This direct statement seemed to confirm the rumors about Charles and Camilla's affair. Hearing Diana speak these words on national television shocked the audience and the royal establishment. During the interview, Diana also talked about her role in the royal family, suggesting that they saw her as a threat rather than an ally. She described feeling unsupported by palace staff and felt that her accomplishments were overshadowed by royal protocol. Diana expressed that she wanted to be a queen in people's hearts, suggesting that she cared more about helping others than about official titles and positions. The public reaction to Diana's Panorama interview was huge. People felt both sympathy and admiration for her honesty. Many applauded Diana for daring to speak about private matters, while others criticized the BBC for giving her such a platform to reveal the inner workings of the royal family. For the royal household, the interview was a crisis that raised questions about how to handle such a frank admission of marital issues and personal pain. In the days and weeks after the interview, tensions grew within the monarchy, and discussions about Diana and Charles's future intensified. By the following year, the two finalized their divorce. Diana's Panorama interview remains a defining moment in modern royal history, a rare instance when a royal figure chose to break tradition and directly tell the world her side of the story. Diana's tragic death. In the early hours of August 31st, 1997, the world lost a beloved figure, Diana, Princess of Wales. She was just 36 years old. That night, Diana was in Paris with her companion, Dodi Fayed. They were traveling in a Mercedes-Benz limousine when their driver, Henri Paul, sped through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, attempting to escape pursuing paparazzi. Inside the car were Diana, Dodi, Henri, and bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones. Suddenly, the car lost control and crashed into a pillar inside the tunnel. Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul died at the scene. Diana was rushed to the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital, where doctors worked tirelessly to save her. Tragically, she succumbed to her injuries a few hours later. Only Trevor Rees-Jones survived, though he was badly hurt. Initial police reports revealed that Henri Paul had high levels of alcohol in his blood. The paparazzi on motorbikes had been chasing the car, hoping to get photos, and were quickly blamed by the public for their role in the tragedy. When the news of Diana's death reached the public, shock and grief spread around the globe. People could not believe that the people's princess, known for her warmth and compassion, was gone. Crowds began to gather outside Kensington Palace in London, leaving piles of flowers, letters, and gifts as tributes. Newspapers worldwide carried headlines of disbelief and sorrow. In the days leading up to her funeral, the nation found itself overcome with mourning. On September 6, 1997, Diana's funeral took place at Westminster Abbey. A solemn procession guided her coffin through the streets of London, with her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, walking behind. Seeing the two young princes following their mother's coffin brought many to tears. Crowds lined the route, and millions more watched the proceedings on television. Elton John performed a moving rendition of Candle in the Wind, which he had reworked to honor Diana. Diana's death sparked new discussions about the heightened role of the media and paparazzi in the lives of public figures. Many felt that the relentless pursuit for tabloid photos had gone too far. At the same time, people praised Diana's charitable work and genuine kindness. In the months and years that followed, her legacy inspired changes in how the royal family engaged with the public, and how the press approached the private lives of famous individuals. Charles and Camilla Mary, 2005. In April 2005, after decades of ups and downs, Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles finally made their love official. The couple's relationship had been in the spotlight for many years, stirring controversy and debate across the United Kingdom. However, their bond had proven too strong to be broken by public scandals, royal expectations, or even the tragic death of Princess Diana. When the announcement of their engagement came, many people were surprised, but also curious about how exactly the royal wedding would unfold for a couple with such a long history. The wedding was initially set to take place on April 8, 2005, at Windsor Castle, but had to be postponed by one day, so Prince Charles could attend Pope John Paul II's funeral in Rome. On April 9th, the couple held a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall, followed by a blessing at St. George's Chapel. Queen Elizabeth II did not attend the civil ceremony, but she joined the family for the blessing and later hosted a reception. The mood was joyful yet modest, reflecting their desire for a subdued celebration. Despite the years of public scrutiny, many people were happy to see Charles and Camilla finally wed. Their mutual affection was clear, and the simpler wedding format highlighted their wish for a more private celebration. Camilla took the title of Duchess of Cornwall instead of Princess of Wales, a decision made out of respect for Diana's memory and the public's lingering feelings. Though some critics remained skeptical, the couple's union gained acceptance over time as they took on more royal duties together. In the months and years following their marriage, Charles and Camilla continued to shape their public roles. They supported various charities, traveled for state visits, and appeared together at cultural and social events. While Charles focused on environmental issues and youth programs, Camilla championed literacy, women's rights, and the well-being of animals. Over time, their team approach began to soften public opinion, and an increasing number of people saw Camilla less as an interloper and more as a loyal partner to the future king. For Charles, the marriage marked a new chapter in his personal life, fulfilling a desire delayed by past controversies. When Queen Elizabeth II eventually gave her approval, it signaled that even the strict royal tradition could adapt to modern changes. As the Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla showed her dedication to her new royal duties, engaging with the public and supporting causes dear to her and Charles. Their wedding stood as proof that love can endure, even after years of challenges and heartbreak. Modern status of Camilla and Charles. Charles and Camilla's relationship has transformed significantly over the years. From a scandal that shook the royal family to their eventual marriage in 2005, they have now become a steady presence at the heart of the monarchy. With Charles ascending to the throne as King Charles III after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, Camilla holds the title of Queen, signaling a remarkable shift from her earlier public image as the Duchess of Cornwall. Their story is one of both personal and royal evolution, marked by changing public attitudes and growing acceptance. Today, Charles and Camilla focus on their royal duties, while also showing a more relaxed and approachable side. King Charles, known for his passion for environmental issues, continues to champion causes such as climate change, sustainable farming, and the protection of wildlife. Camilla, meanwhile, has become a strong advocate for literacy programs and charities focusing on domestic violence and osteoporosis awareness. People are seeing her as a supportive and hardworking royal figure, quite different from the controversial figure she once was in the media. An important part of their modern status involves their public appearances, which display a respectful and warm partnership. They are often seen together at official functions, greeting diplomats, meeting with local leaders, and engaging with charity representatives. Both are comfortable with each other's presence, and their relaxed interactions hint at a deep understanding built over many years. This contrasts with the formal and sometimes distant image royals have had in the past, reflecting the more open and modern style they bring to the crown. As king and queen, Charles and Camilla's approach to leadership within the royal family highlights the values they hold dear. Charles remains focused on maintaining the monarchy's relevance in a rapidly changing world, while Camilla uses her platform to shine a light on everyday issues people face. They support each other's projects, attend joint events, and often speak with genuine interest to those they meet, helping to humanize the royal institution. Public opinion of the couple has gradually softened, especially compared to the intense criticism they faced years ago. While some still remember the past controversies, many have come to respect Charles's lifelong commitment to public service and Camilla's dedication to charitable work. Their marriage is viewed less as a royal scandal and more as a story of two people who eventually found acceptance and happiness together.